Identical twins of Reddit, what's the greatest thing you've achieved by swapping places, without anyone noticing? Not exactly intentional, but I was visiting my brother's college campus, where he lived in the dorm. I parked and was headed in, when a pair of female hands covered my eyes from behind. I turned around and saw a pretty blonde girl, to whom I only had a chance to say hi before she threw her arms around my neck and kissed me. She then said, "Is your brother here yet? I can't wait to meet him." To which I replied, "I think you just did." She looked confused for a couple seconds and then turned bright red. When we both got inside, she beat my bro's arm for a solid 5 minutes. Apparently he had never told her we were twins, since they had only gone out for a few weeks at the time. They eventually got married, but the way she and I met gets brought up just about every family gathering. A similar thing happened to me when I met my twins now wife. I was visiting him at college, went to different schools, and they were having a party. His girlfriend walked in the front door and into the living room was. She came up and hugged me thinking I was my brother. I looked down and said, "You must be underscore." She got bright red and saw my brother looking in from the dining room laughing. My brother and I went to the same college. On one occasion we both went to the library. I was studying, he was meeting a classmate for a project. She ran into me instead and I pretended to be my brother. When it got old I went looking for him but couldn't find him, so I took off my jacket and came back to the girl. I introduced myself and explained that my brother was her classmate, and I was looking for him. She said he had just left. I walked away, put the jacket on, and came back. She said my brother was looking for me. I kept leaving and coming back several times, until eventually my brother finally arrived. When she saw him, wearing something totally different than what I had worn with or without the jacket, she freaked out and yelled, "There are 3 of you." I have twin brothers. When they were about 12 or 13, my brother Jaya was grounded from the computer. My mum was out, so he decided to sneak on. He was wearing headphones, so he didn't hear when she came in. She caught him. He pretended to be his twin Dante. My mom doubted herself, called for Jaya. Dante, having heard everything, responded, trying to help his brother out. My mum was confused for a bit, but being a mom figured it out. They both got grounded, but she admitted she was very close to falling for it. Brothers. I remember being grounded and having my brother, not twin, swap quickly with me when I was playing video games when I heard my parents coming home, so I could act like I was studying and it was him playing games. Followed up by the classic, "I've been studying all day, can I play a little while now?" Great question. I posted this once before when this came up last. My twin brother was president of the class and I was vice president our junior year. When it came time for after-school re-election speeches for senior year, my brother completely forgot and walked home. I did my speech for vice president, then borrowed a friend's shirt and made up a presidential speech for him on the spot. We both won. Smile. Thanks for all the questions. Here are pics from our HS yearbook to prove it. What a good brother. I taught swimming lessons for 3 years. During that time, I had one set of twins in one of my classes, who once switched swimming suits to mess with me, except I was still learning names of the kids in class. 50-60 kids' names to learn from all my classes, and called one of them what could have been the wrong name, except it was right, because they had also switched. His face adopted a surprised expression and he exclaimed, "How did you know we switched?" "Because I'm that good. I used to just give my kids nicknames because real names are for people who don't have a new set of classes every 2 weeks." My great-grandfather is an identical twin. Whilst leaving the church on his wedding day they managed to swap. For years my great-grandma thought that was a photo of her and her husband outside the church on the mantelpiece. About 20 years in he finally told her it was his brother on the photo. Did they say how she reacted when she found out? I could see her being pissed off, but honestly, after 20 years, I would like to think she laughed it off. A professor at my school is a twin. He got his brother to impersonate him and deliver a lecture on comedy of errors. Then the actual professor comes in and proceeds to argue about who should be delivering the lecture. Shakespearean hilarity ensues. That's pretty awesome. Usually I just lurk on Reddit, but this caught my eye, so I made an account to share my story. My identical twin brother wasn't the most dedicated student in high school. While I was focused on getting into the college of my dreams, USC, he would often skip class to go hang out with his friends and do things that I didn't find to be quite beneficial to my goal of success. Well, his ditching habits got out of hand. It was in the second month of senior year of high school, and his zero-period English teacher told him that he had 14 absences, and that if he missed one more zero-period class, he would fail the class and would not be able to graduate. This really threw my brother's life into gear, and he began to come to school early and put his life back together. One day, it was 5 minutes before zero period had started, and I got a call from my bro. His car broke down and he was stuck 2 miles away from school. He had been trying to fix it for the past 10 minutes and couldn't figure out what happened. I sensed the urgency in his voice and knew he wasn't pissing me. I agreed to take his place and miss my ceramics zero period and take his English class. The only issue was that his class was on the other side of the school. By the time I went to his locker, grabbed his books, and ran to his class, I was about a minute late. I rushed in, and saw the teacher give a sigh of relief when he saw me. So basically, I saved my brother from not graduating. No one noticed that it wasn't him and it was me, but I do remember this one girl coming up to me at lunch and asking why I changed clothes. Later found out that she was in the zero period class. Hope you enjoyed my story, and first post on Reddit. My favorite part was the teacher being relieved that your brother, or you, I guess, had arrived. Glad they cared. He liked my brother, but still had to do his job. So naturally, he was relieved when he, actually me, showed up. My twin and I have swapped places successfully in many situations, but the most recent was probably the best. My brother is an adjunct professor at a local university teaching web design. None of his students knew he had a twin. On April 1st, I came in to open the class instead of him. I casually said hi to about 20 students, discussed questions about a project, making it up as I went, and even discussed a student's grade before opening the lesson. No one noticed anything out of the ordinary. About 5 minutes into this, my brother threw open the classroom door and stepped in. He pointed to me and said, "Who is this imposter?" We didn't know how they would react, but we thought it would be a lot louder. Instead, most of the students' mouths dropped open and they just stared back and forth in complete confusion and terror in a few cases. Finally, I broke in and said that I was teaching my class, as usual, and who was this guy interrupting? He dashed up to the front and said it was his class and I should leave. We then asked the students whose class it was, and about half got it right for bonus points and half got it wrong. Either way, we clearly made their day, and we haven't been able to play this trick again for the past few years because it still gets talked about. Not me, but my dad and uncle are twins. Just a few years ago my dad fell off a ladder removing Christmas lights and broke his shoulder. After surgery dad had to go to physical therapy for a while. A few months in, my uncle comes up from out of town for some reason I can't remember, and dad hatches a plan to be miraculously healed. He tells my uncle all the names of his receptionists and therapist. He wanted me to go in and film it, but I was afraid it would ruin the joke. So I'm told that my uncle goes in and starts going through stretches while the therapist looks amazed. She says, "My word, I've never seen such quick improvement. I never thought you would be able to lift your arm over your head again." What changed since last session? My dad's family are a bunch of wise asses, so my uncle starts telling the therapist about hearing of a home remedy by rubbing ostrich oil on his shoulder. Meanwhile, my dad goes up to the receptionist for his appointment and apologizes for being late. The lady just looks confused and says, but you already came in. My dad just looks confused back at her as she takes him to his room. I was told that the therapist gasped and took a triple take when she saw them both. Another shorter story is when my dad tried to withdraw $50 from my uncle's bank account. My uncle owns a small business and goes into the bank daily, so the teller recognized my dad. He goes up and asks for $50 from his account and the teller just gives it to him. This was a while ago before security was all the rage. He gives the money back and tells about him being at Win. The teller looked really embarrassed and was probably worried about his job. Not exactly swapping places, but my twin and I both got an awesome scholarship because of a clause that stated that twin siblings could both win the scholarship if they had similar GPAs. That's pretty amazing. What country, state did this happen in? I go to school in NY in the States.